Today we are going to do a Goddess Lakshmi abundance reading. So what that's going to entail is I pulled the Lakshmi cards from both the Divine Feminine Oracle deck and the Yogic Path deck, and we're going to read about Lakshmi from both of these guidebooks. Then we're going to go to the tarot and we're going to ask what are assumptions that need to be let go of about abundance. So for the viewer, so whenever you find this video, we are going to look at what assumptions you're holding about abundance that Spirit is actually asking you to let go of. And then we're going to look at what realities about abundance is Spirit asking you to adopt or go towards. Because the reality is, with any virtue in life, so we'll think of abundance as a virtue. So like basking in abundance, embodying prosperity, being a person who is rich and wealthy in the most beautiful sense. With any virtue, there are things that are true about it and there are things that are untrue. And we can live an entire lifetime basing our life on assumptions about virtues, right? Instead of being willing to get to the reality of the virtue so that we can more and more truly embody it. And so this is a form of like a clarity reading where we're going to try to unlock what assumptions you might not be aware that you are holding about abundance, so you can become aware of it, let go of those, and move towards more of a reality. So again, we're going to start by reading about Lakshmi and this archetype, and then we are going to go to the tarot and try to unlock the assumptions and realities that would be most helpful for you to let go of and then move towards in order to experience more abundance and prosperity in your life and embody it. So I'm really excited. We'll start with this depiction of Lakshmi from the Divine Feminine Oracle. Okay? So here we go. Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance. I choose to feel abundant. Wealth is an inside job. Who she is. Lakshmi personifies the splendor and affluence that arrives when we align our every action with what the soul desires most for us. Reverence for the Hindu goddess Lakshmi dates back to the first millennium BCE. She is known as the goddess of wealth, fortune, and prosperity. Her name is derived from the Sanskrit root lakas and laks and laksa, meaning to know, understand, or to have a goal. Well, isn't that interesting, even to think about abundance as a knowing, like not only knowing that you are abundant, but like a deep knowing and understanding of yourself, and I think certainly the laws of the universe. She is the wife of Hindu god Vishnu, and has many festivals that are celebrated in her honor. In the ancient Indic epic, the Ramayana, very sorry for my pronunciations there, I'm sure they're incorrect, Lakshmi is said to have miraculously sprung from the foam of an ocean of the milk churned by the gods. Lakshmi is often pictured in her iconic holding of the lotus. Oh, that would be right there. This is symbolic of the fact that great beauty arises from the dark richness of the earth under any circumstances. All that's needed is the auspicious or divine timing for the lotus to come into bloom. Her essence, then, is about understanding the goal in life, to realize the abundance of the soul. Well, isn't it interesting here? It says to realize, because that's kind of what we're going for in this reading, where we're trying to get clear about the reality of abundance, right? To realize. So we're going to, after we read about Lakshmi, as I said, try to unlock what assumptions we're making that are not true, and then realize the reality of abundance. I just love that. Okay, when your soul selects your card, abundance looks different to each of us. Some people have incalculable material wealth, but are bereft of a sense of purpose or a greater vision for their life, and so are left feeling lost. While others are considered poor in financial wealth, but walk around radiating love and the kind of light that has an inestimable worth. Lakshmi is the auspiciousness that begins to bloom in our life when we are when we align our every action with the work our soul has come here to do. Lakshmi reminds us of the ultimate goal, which is not making money, but being able to know our own true bliss. What makes us feel lit up like a glow stick while we're doing it? What work doesn't feel like work at all? Lakshmi is a wink to find that vocation, that bliss, so that what is within us comes into full bloom through something we can show the world. Lakshmi represents both the gold we can hold in our hands and the gold we can become by doing work that feeds our soul. She is the reminder that true abundance doesn't come from the bank statement. It comes from the state of mind that we enter when we know we are contributing great worth to the world in the effort of becoming more love. Soul voice meditation. When do I feel the most abundant? Intention. I choose to feel abundant. Wealth is an inside job. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, now we're going to read about Lakshmi from the Yogic Path guidebook. Okay, Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance, fortune, and beauty. Many call upon Lakshmi, but she only comes to few who have earned it. Today, that is you. She is the goddess of abundance, physical beauty, and vital life force, good fortune and fertility. She is the sweetness of the fruit, the petals of the flower, the glistening of the ocean. She is the extra spark that makes certain things beautiful. She comes to you with blessings of prosperity for the fruits of your labor. She has recognized your generosity and rewards you in her ways, whether it's financial abundance, radiant health, loving partnership, a comfortable home, good fortune, or impregnation you are seeking. Continue to give freely, lovingly, and so will she. All right. How beautiful is that? I just love it. Okay, so now we're going to, so I guess before we move to the tarot, just kind of take note of what really struck you in those depictions of this archetype, of Goddess Lakshmi, because there's probably some information there too about what could help you move towards the true embodiment of more abundance. And remember, more abundance doesn't always or necessarily just mean more. You know what I mean? If you've tuned into my videos before, you might remember me talking about how I'm really more and more coming to beautiful terms with the fact that abundance is way more complex. It's much richer than just more. Do you know what I mean? There's a complexity to it that allows for the uniqueness of each of our own selves. And Lakshmi unlocks more abundance in I think, mysterious ways. So sometimes Lakshmi can come to you and her message is to edit or to simplify, right? So it looks like less, but it's actually en route to more abundance or in the vein of abundance. And so I just really encourage you again to like pay attention to what stuck out to you with these two descriptions of this archetype, because I'm sure there's information there. Now, with that being said, my intention here is to first pull one or two cards with the intention that gives us information about what assumptions you're making about abundance that, if you let go of them, would actually lead you to more abundance. And then the second one is the realizing of more abundance. So what is the reality of abundance that you are being asked to walk towards? And as you let the first essence go and move towards the second, you will embody more true abundance in your life. Okay, so with that intention in place, I'm going to draw card 1. Card 1, please. Knight of Pentacles. Card 2, please. Card 2, please. There it is. King of Pentacles. Well, isn't that interesting? My goodness. Okay, so I'm excited to get down to business here. This is an interesting reading. Interesting that I said get down to business. I'll tell you why in a second. So first things first, I felt called to find the Knight of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles in the Smith-Waite deck and in the Abstracts Future deck, so that you can look at the differences between, well, certainly between the different decks, but I was thinking more in terms of like the differences between the Knight and the King and how it's depicted in different imagery of it, in case there's some insights there for you. I think what's so interesting about this reading, and maybe so powerful, is that you clearly are like on point. Like you, okay, let me put it this way. The difference between the Knight and the King of Pentacles compared to what it could have been, like it could have been two very different cards here, right? So the difference between the Knight and the King is very, very subtle. And so I think this is very exciting, because I think what it's telling me is that overall you have a lot of maturity in how you view abundance. And there's like a subtle difference here that if you're willing to adopt it more, would lead to even more abundance. And I just think it's interesting, because I was really making the assumption that these two cards are going to be so different. You know what I mean? And actually, in most clarity readings that I do, when the intention is to unearth assumptions, that's typically what happens. Is there's a pretty stark difference in the energy. So this might be the first clarity reading that I've done where it's like the difference is more subtle. And so it's just kind of exciting, because I think it's like with this reading, if it resonates, you can tap into those subtleties a little more, and then just gentle shifts in the more King of Pentacles direction is what like could unlock some pretty big changes for you in terms of your experience of abundance. So with that being said, let's talk about the difference. And as I say that, before I get there, I think it's very interesting too that we started with the Divine Feminine Oracle, and then what's coming out though is more masculine. You know, both the Knight and the King are masculine archetypes. And so I just think that's interesting. And I think what is also interesting is that they're both pentacles, because pentacles in the tarot literally represent wealth, money. They represent how we get our physical needs met as physical humans. And so I think it's like there's something here about like spirit kind of like winking and being like, I understand you're doing an abundance reading or something like that. Now, as I'm speaking all that out, I think I might pull one more deck, since we did pull masculine cards here. I have a masculine archetype deck. Well, I actually gifted it to my husband, but he's fine if we use it, because we might get a little more information. I might do like another card 1 and card 2 here to get a little deeper message. Actually, okay, as I say all that, I think I'm going to do that now before we speak out the difference between the Knight and the King of Pentacles, just to add another layer of information as we're differentiating the two. So give me 1 sec, I'm going to grab that deck. Okay, so here we are. So this is the Masculine Archetype Guidebook. Give them a little shuffle here, and then we'll ask for card 1 and card 2. Oh, I'm not confident in that. Oh, goodness. Okay, they want to talk. That's good. All right, I'm ready. Card 1, please. Clarifier for card 1, the Knight of Pentacles. Card 1. Reward. There's card 2 right there. I feel it. Warrior. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. So I think we should actually begin by reading from this Masculine Archetype Guidebook. But before we do that, I'll just give a little explanation of these cards, how this archetype guidebook is set up. It has 5 main archetypes of the 5 main archetypes. And actually warrior is one of the main ones. And then within each one of the main archetypes, there's sub-archetypes that have cards. And then on top of that, there are hero's journey cards. So for the Knight of Pentacles here, you drew a hero's journey card, or I drew it for you. And then for the King of Pentacles, we drew an archetype, a main archetype card, the warrior. So let's read about these two, and then we'll talk more about the Knight and the King of Pentacles. Actually, so I'll read about the hero's journey here. The Hero's Journey cards. The Hero's Journey cards is the classic story of treasure, love, reward, honor, freedom, and survival. At its essence, the hero's journey is about the process of transformation, maturity, and spiritual awakening. Whenever you choose growth over comfort, you take the first step on the hero's journey. This could look like breaking free of a destructive relationship, changing career paths, or making amends with someone. This quest will ask you to fight your internal demons and gain a greater understanding of yourself. At the end of the journey, you will find yourself changed. Embrace it. Okay, so the reward card was pulled here to clarify the Knight of Pentacles, and the reward card has this description. After succeeding on the quest, the hero gains a great reward. It can be a physical treasure, but the most valuable bounty is internal. The reward could be profound wisdom, self-confidence, healing the land, or protecting loved ones. The reward represents a significant shift in the hero. He has gained something that will transform the rest of his life. The hero can now return home with his great boon. The journey isn't yet complete, but the change has taken root. In this stage of the journey, look towards your success. It's easy to forget to celebrate your accomplishments and just move to the next challenge. Take a moment to look at your victories, appreciate the art project you have finished, honor the value of your intimate relationships, and take the time to enjoy what you have gained from your hard work. Well, isn't that interesting that it says hard work, because the Knight of Pentacles really is a card about of hard work, to consistent hard work towards something, which is very interesting. It seems like consistent effort towards a reward is like an assumption that you're being asked to release. And let's read about the warrior, and then again we'll really kind of debrief the difference between these two. So 29. The warrior. Dedication, action, determination are the keywords. Challenges: sadism, aggression, detachment. To cultivate: physical exertion, martial arts, and activism. The sub-archetypes of the warrior are activist, athlete, hunter, and soldier. The shadow aspects are aggressor and coward. The warrior is fiercely dedicated to protecting what he believes in. He relentlessly trains his skill to give him potency to destroy that which does not serve his purpose. A true warrior is ever vigilant and awake. The warrior's path is in determination and action. He so fully believes in his cause that he is willing to die for it, at least metaphorically. The warrior will risk reputation, ridicule, and position for a just cause. After all, the warrior intimately understands death. He knows that he will one day die on the battlefield or at home. This hard truth drives him to wield whatever strength he has with purpose. A warrior wants to ensure he has an impactful life and death. Therefore, he applies his life force to protect, and uses death to serve a more extraordinary life. But you cannot just avoid your inner warrior and hope to spare yourself conflict. Suppression leads to equally insidious problems. Unchecked, it will lead to violence, both internally and externally. You must face it and utilize its energy. If you are detached from the warrior, it will slowly bubble up and lead to passive-aggressive behavior, abuse, or outbursts. The energy of the warrior is also internal. Commitment to spiritual practice, bettering yourself, and facing the shadows are critical aspects of the warrior archetype. Utilize this energy to find fortitude and resolve towards your goals. That's interesting. Utilize this energy to find fortitude and resolve towards your goals. So we'll go back to that in a second. When you draw this card, consider how you suppress or cultivate the energy of the warrior. Has a shadow warrior hurt you in the past? Do you turn your aggression inward, or do you turn it into positive action? Wow, this is so fascinating. So again, one thing that really stood out to me is utilize this energy to find fortitude and resolve towards your goals. So there's something here about embodiment versus seeking. Like that's like the main thing I'm getting from the difference between the King of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles. Because look at how the Knight is like en route and the King is embodied. He is sitting. Do you get what I'm saying? So, and then that's just depicted here with the reward versus the warrior. So you can embody the energy of the warrior to move in pursuit of your goals. But there's something here about like, if you're always in pursuit, you're not embodying. And that I think is the subtle difference, that if you are willing, if this resonates and you're willing to shift more to considering that, that can unlock a lot more abundance. Because there seems to be something about this pursuit of energy that's almost keeping it at bay, where an embodiment is going to unlock more of true abundance. And honestly, what's coming to me is I don't know the specifics of what that means for you. But I think even beginning to, and you might not know right off the bat, but I think maybe just like a willingness to contemplate it more in that regard, and not assume that the pursuit is what unlocks, but instead being willing to consider that maybe the embodiment is what unlocks more abundance, that there's something big there. And again, I'm just like, there's something about this this distinction that's really exciting me, because again, it's very subtle, but it can be really subtle things that keep the next level of our embodiment or manifestation from being realized, right? And so I think what it was exciting to me is that there could have been like a lot of frustration, because you're like kind of on point here with the Knight of Pentacles energy, right? But there's just like a slight evolution to it, that as you are willing to be of embodiment, I don't know if I've ever said that way. That's so weird. But that's what's coming. As you're willing to be of embodiment instead of always in pursuit, there is an unlocking. And it's like, it's almost like embodying what you are pursuing. Is this making any sense? Like, again, because the Knight and the King are so similar in many regards, the Knight of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles. So there's and with the King of Pentacles, I don't think it's like, don't take action. I just think it's like, you're more courageous than you think. You're further along than you think. There's a sitting down metaphorically in your throne that is required. And there's an acknowledgement of the warrior spirit that you are. And as I say that, there's a song by Rising Appalachia that is coming to mind, because in that song they say, we believe in warriors, but we don't believe in war. Don't you love that? Like, we believe in warriors, but we don't believe in war. So there's such a, and maybe there's something here to that. Like, maybe there was a fear of embodying this warrior spirit, this King of Pentacles who is like in charge, so on and so forth, probably owns his or her own business. Like, King of Pentacles is a pretty self-sufficient card. Maybe there was a fear of embodying that, because you feel like to embody that is too aggressive or something. Like, to embody a warrior means I have to believe in war. But realizing, and so maybe there was like a unconscious, like, I'm just going to be the Knight. The Knight gets told what to do, gets directives, is purposeful, but it is always in pursuit and is following versus being the leader, right? And maybe that felt safer, again, because you didn't want to be aggressive. But I think there is something, so maybe go listen to that song if this is resonating, that you can have a warrior spirit. You can believe in the warrior without believing in war. Do you know what I'm saying? And so there's something very powerful in that regard that's coming through. I'm being called to just get one final message, again from the masculine archetype deck. I think because it seems like some breakthroughs with the masculine archetype, or the masculine embodiment of energy, is where the breakthroughs lie for you at the time that you view this video. So, and I just keep like, there's like this space open here, and I'm like, okay, let's get one final message. It's not like a clarity, like a let go of, move towards. It's just one final message that will help you embody this warrior spirit more, embody versus pursue more, and will unlock more true abundance in your life. Okay, so one final message for the viewer regarding abundance, how to unlock more true abundance in their world. One final message, please. There it is, right there. Land Steward. Ooh, isn't that a beautiful card? Okay, so let's read about the Land Steward. I was not expecting that, but I sort of love it. Let's see. So it's a sub-archetype of the father. So the keywords of the father, the main archetype, is reliable, supportive, and giving. The challenges are martyrdom, overbearing, abuse of authority. To cultivate the father, acts of service, leadership, and mentoring. The sub-archetypes are land steward, mentor, provider, and caregiver. The shadow aspects are constant rescuer and a deadbeat. So now let's read about the land steward in general. Now, this is very interesting because, whoa, look at this, you guys. Oh my God. Look at how this card like matches what I felt called to put in the middle of this like beautiful abundant, or tin that to me represents abundant with the red, abundance with the red and gold. It's black and green, just like that. Whoa. That is crazy. Sometimes this stuff is just so crazy. So what I was going to say though, is this actually, what's coming to me is very interesting. And that is like what often I don't think is spoken about a lot in terms of like, like when we're trying to like manifest abundance, is that when the more that we are in alignment with Mother Nature, and we're not only interested about her principles, but also caring for her, the more like abundance is unlocked. So a tangible like example of that is, I feel like when I started gardening and composting, when my husband and I did, like not only was it incredibly emotionally fulfilling, or it has been, but that is also when there was noticeable shifts in my experience of abundance. And so it's a very, very interesting that would come through. Okay, so the second thing, I'm going to get to reading this, but the second thing is I cannot help but notice this rainbow right here, because I've been recently studying feng shui. By studying, I just mean like on my own, not like doing any formal certification or anything, but just like doing my own exploration of feng shui via different resources and then changes I've been making in my home. And it's been incredible. And it also relates to the land, because one aspect of feng shui is really getting in tune with how the land and the structures that you live in are like playing off of one another. But also the rainbow here, like one aspect of feng shui is you can like include different like light crystals and stuff. They're called like feng shui cures. And so now my husband and I have all these like light crystals. I don't really know what you call them, but like you hang them in the window and, you know, they create rainbows everywhere, and they are bringing so much joy into my life. And so I wonder if like starting to dip your toe into the exploration of feng shui could be helpful. Now, as I say that, you know, I do believe there's something to feng shui in terms of like, you know, probably Western science couldn't prove it, but I believe people have tapped into something energetically that really is true about the flow of energy. And I also have come to terms with, or I don't know if come to terms with is the right way to put it, but put another way, I have noticed that, what am I trying to say? Even if there is absolutely nothing scientifically to feng shui, what I have noticed is that it is one beautiful way just to bring more joy and honor in your life. Like every time, since learning about feng shui a couple of months ago, I honestly have probably made 50 to 100 big and small tweaks in our home, okay? Now, each one of those is a representation of the respect I'm bringing to myself and my husband and also our things, right? And the things like the rainbows everywhere now bring so much unexpected joy to me on a daily basis, both to my adult self and my inner child, right? So even if there is nothing to feng shui, it has helped me kind of ground some like honoring practices, or ground the essence of honor, ground the essence of abundance in tangible ways in the physical sense that have just been that feels just so healthy. And so, okay, so all that to say, I think maybe there's something here with feng shui for you. Finally, let's read about the land steward, which is once again the sub-archetype of the main archetype, which is the father. All right, here he is. Land steward, keywords: earth, practical, naturalist. Challenges: overzealous, detaching from humanity. To cultivate: gardening, camping, eco-advocacy, and cooking. The land steward appreciates the connection between man and nature. His care for the earth is both a spiritual and practical path. He connects, to the world through his felt sense of seasons and the rhythms of nature. The land steward tends to the earth, shares in conscious foods, and campaigns to preserve our world's natural beauty. His dedication not only protects but also heals the land. You connect with the land steward archetype when you expand your thinking to include the land around you. It asks you to think about the larger natural cycle, such as planting trees for children to enjoy, protecting waters for future generations, and building things that will last. When you draw the land steward, consider your influence on the world. What environmental impact will you leave behind? How do you cultivate a relationship with the natural world? To connect with the land steward archetype, take a moment to appreciate the ever-abundant nature of the lands you occupy. Wow, what a beautiful way to end, and a beautiful wink from Mother God here to end, where the last sentence is to appreciate the ever-abundant nature in an abundance reading. My goodness, sometimes these readings are just so fun and just so unexpected. I just didn't think it would go in this direction, and then to end with all this red and gold and with the green and black in the middle, I just feel like it's so, the reading itself feels so abundant to me. So I hope that you got something useful out of this. I really appreciate you tuning in. And I'm also very excited for you because I love the groundedness of what you're being asked to do. So this isn't like a hyping up. You're at a place in your life where a grounding down actually is going to open up more and more abundance, which is, I think, very exciting, because not only does that mean you have this like beautiful level of maturity that you're already embodying, and now you're embarking on embodying more, but I also think like it's been my experience that like the less hyped up version of abundance is better. It's so, like I like the abundance that includes calm and stewardship. Do you know what I mean? And not just the abundance of more and faster, and you know what I mean? And so I think this is such a beautiful, in this reading, such a beautiful, true depiction of abundance that you are ready for. And I'm really, really excited for you. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for tuning in.